What is the problem with meditation? Meditation is all the rage these days. From self-described gurus to IG entrepreneurs to celebrities, it seems that everybody is trying to benefit from this ancient practice. However, what's been called McMindfulness for its easy to produce and consume faux spirituality has come under a lot of criticism for cultural appropriation, distortion of the ancient practice, to a whole host of other issues. So let's talk about the 3 traps of meditation. But just so I'm clear, these are 3 possible traps. This is not a dismissal of what is actually a really valuable and important practice. So make sure you stay till the end of the video so you can hear about how to avoid these traps and find out how to develop your own rich meditative practice that can truly enhance your life. Point 1. Meditation makes happy producers and consumers.
Has something sacred been co-opted by capitalism?
This is a point that's been covered quite extensively, so I'm just going to give you some highlights and then I'm going to place some links below for video essays and articles that have covered this a bit more in depth so that you can follow up after. Essentially, there is a cultural trend that pressures individuals to seek happiness, but without really being clear about defining what is meant by happiness. Is it pleasure or well-being or contentment or flourishing or something else? Sociologist William Davies explains that under capitalism, happiness means feeling good.
The combination of how satisfied you are with your life and how good you feel on a daily basis.
This makes the pursuit of happiness one that is tied to a world system that will never love you back.
Bye. Okay. Bye. See you later.
She's holding out on you, isn't she?
Not quite sure I get your meaning.
We produce for it, but it can only pacify our discontent and never really produce a reciprocal joy for us.
Hey girl, love me.
What is more, by turning us into fast-paced dopamine addicts, we also become more and more productive as producers at work and as consumers in our supposed free time. The result is that we become more efficient cogs in the metaphorical wheel. Which leads us to point 2, that it places the focus purely on the individual. Therapist Jeremy Safran remarked that McMindfulness is the marketing of a dream, an idealized lifestyle, an identity makeover. It's sold as a way to cure your burnout. So rather than realize that what you hate is your boss and the exploitative world system that ties you to him,
you're cool. You, I'm out.
what you get is a system that teaches you that it's your responsibility to transcend your unhealthy patterns of response to negative external stimuli. And while there's immense value in learning to manage our inner states, if we do this to the neglect of the structural and material causes of individual and social anxiety, then we end up putting the full weight of responsibility onto the individual. And this leads to the final point. The individual simply isn't strong enough. We'll make this point by way of 2 examples. The first one is borrowed from science. An object with a large mass exerts a greater gravitational pull on the objects within its orbit than does an object with a smaller mass. So let's suppose the world system is an object with great mass. It exerts a massive gravitational pull on every object within its orbit. As it bends time and space, much like a large planetary object, those objects within its gravitational field fall towards it. But the world system is not static. It continues to grow as it gobbles up more resources. Therefore, its mass grows, as does its gravitational pull, which means all of the objects within its gravitational field fall faster towards it. Now, what is amazing about meditation is that it provides a break from that gravitational pull. The pull of the world system, its pressures, its burdens, all of the demands and limits that it imposes on you are all suspended for that brief moment. However, when we come back to the world, it snatches us up with that ever-intensifying gravitational pull. Much like this elastic band, the greater intensity between a pull and resistance produces greater and greater tension, as the elastic band is attached to an anchor point that sets the trajectory by which the elastic band travels. Therefore, once we are snapped out of our meditative state, we fall faster and faster towards that anchor point. That is the world system. This then requires more and more practices of escape and greater intensity of those practices in resistance to the pull of the world system. The second example is more philosophical. When we meditate, we start to unlock doors. So imagine you are in a room and there's a bunch of doors before you and you walk through one of the doors. What meditation does is it allows us the space to freely explore these rooms. However, most often when you unlock one of those doors, you don't find a room filled with treasures and answers, but you find rooms filled with more doors. And you start exploring those doors, and those doors are filled with more doors, and you keep following these paths. And the problem is that it becomes very difficult to either find your way back or to really have any sort of map that charts your trajectory. So stuck in this labyrinth of doors, if we're given a map, and that map is the map that is conditioned by the world system, then that means that when we do find our way, it's the way that is provided to us by, again, that exploitative world system.
There is no alternative.
Which means that the map is corrupted because it's conditioned by the logic of the world system. Therefore, the guidance we receive isn't the guidance that is the best for a life that is truly one that would lead to flourishing, that would truly lead to community well-being, that would truly lead to individual happiness at a deep and profound level. So what both examples teach us is that without either one, a new anchor point, and a new gravitational object that we can move towards, one that would not be corrupting and one that would not be based on an exploitative socioeconomic system. And two, without a new map to guide us, then we end up trapped in an abusive relationship pattern with a world system that again will never love us back.
Well, don't you love me?
The truth is that I love somebody else.
So to close, the power of meditation is not in the individual becoming a guru or a monk or a sannyasa or some other hero that has transcended to the level of the Superman. Unfortunately, this seems to be the way that many Western depictions of meditation are stylized. And I get it, we all want to be the heroes of our own stories, right? We're flooded with images of the individual that has seemingly transcended their limits and found peace. And so we presume that our practice is part of our own hero's journey as we slay the dragons and find inner strength in our turn inwards. But the real power of meditation is in breaking with the world system and its limits and its demands and its pressures. And two, in connecting with something that is beyond and maybe even prior to the individual and all of the Western myths that are associated with it. In Buddhist terms, it must be attached to an ethics of care and virtue. Not one that ties us tighter to our systems of oppression and exploitation, but one that frees us from all conditions and sources of suffering. And when we do this, we can find true peace, joy, and justice in our meditative practices. So what do you think? Are you a practitioner of meditation? What benefits have you found from it? Are there particular schools or styles of meditation that you prefer? Comment down below and let's have a little conversation about the benefits and potentially the pitfalls of certain forms of meditative practice. And of course, like, subscribe, share, you know the deal. Later.